The Bondage of the Will by Martin Luther. Argument 10. The state of man without the Spirit shows that free will can do nothing spiritual. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal mind is enmity against God, for it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please God. But ye are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit, if so be that the Spirit of God dwell in you. Now if any man have not the Spirit of Christ, he is none of his. Romans chapter 8. Verse 5 through 9. In Romans chapter 8, verse 5, Paul divides mankind into two, those of the flesh, or the sinful nature, and those of the Spirit. See John chapter 3, verse 6. This can only mean that those who do not have the Spirit are in the flesh and still have a sinful nature. Paul says that if anyone does not have the Spirit of Christ, he does not belong to Christ. Romans chapter 8, verse 9. This obviously means that those without the Spirit belong to Satan. Free will has not been much good to them. Paul says that those controlled by their sinful nature cannot please God. Romans chapter 8, verse 8. He says that the carnal mind is enmity against God, for it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. Romans chapter 8, verse 7. It is impossible for such people to make any effort of their own to please God. A man called Origen suggested that each man has a soul that has the ability to turn to the flesh or to the Spirit. This is just his imagination. He dreamt it. He has no biblical proof for it at all. In fact, there is no middle position. Everything without the Spirit is flesh, and the best activities of the flesh are hostile to God. This is the same as the teaching of Christ in Matthew chapter 7, verse 18, that an evil tree cannot produce good fruit. It is also in harmony with the twin statements of Paul. The just, righteous, shall live by faith. Romans chapter 1, verse 17. And whatsoever is not of faith is sin. Romans chapter 14, verse 23. Those who are without faith are not justified, and those who are not justified are sinners in whom any supposed free will can only produce evil. So free will is nothing but a slave of sin, death, and Satan. Such freedom is no freedom at all.